My new PC will arrive tomorrow. I'm so excited. Get to stream Last of P. I want to stream the new Prince of Persia game that came out recently. Again, by the time this comes out on YouTube, it will have been out for like half a year. God damn. Time is weird when you do this. I'm live on Twitch right now, but I'm also recording, which will mean that this will be not live in the future. It is a bit odd to like say things like oh yeah, right now this is happening, with the mindset of like by the time this video comes out that will have been long past. It is definitely like this like almost like the sense of like, man, this guy, like, if I'm pretty sure if I didn't write down the time of streaming this, some people would definitely think I'm like very slow. It's like, wow, he only just now heard about this? He only just now watched it? Why is he talking about this now? It's long over, you know what I mean? Like, of course some people would realize like, oh, maybe because this video is like half a year old. But yeah. Skip is our next one. And there is a section that we can read afterwards as well. Okay, let's go. Doesn't seem to be long. It's very highly rated. It's not a save. So we had a save, keto save so far. SCP-1802 is to be kept in humanoid chamber C08 at Armed Containment Area 24, pending relocation to a safe storage facility and monitored according to humanoid containment guidelines. Its cells to be inspected regularly for concealed objects. SCP-1802 is an artificial humanoid measuring approximately 30 centimeters in height. Its body has been crudely assembled from lacquered chicken bones, scraps of iron and leather, wire, heavy twine, and a tin can which serves as the creature's head. Similar in construction materials between SCP-1802 and SCP-1502, such as a shared origin. Okay. It's been a while since I've seen 1502. Which one is... Should be on my YouTube channel. Let me quickly look it up. Should not take too long. It's just all we gotta do is give him 502 and it should be in here, right? Oh, the George Feeney one? Interesting. The object was a square of white canvas fashioned into a semblance of a lab coat and has safety goggles secured on its head using screws. SCP-1802 walks with an unsteady gait, but it is manually dexterous and capable of using tools. SCP-1802 is sapient and capable of speech, most simple recitation of memory. It has a single-minded devotion to one particular task, the collection of miscellaneous, usually worthless objects. It gathers these items in whatever container it can carry, sacks, small jars, and savage bags, then creates caches nearby in which to store them. Such as behind a dumpster. Where is it? Am I blind? Where the fuck? There it is. Such behind a dumpster, right? Such behind a dumpster, or at the foot of a tree. SCP-1802 can remember the location and contents of each cache it has created. Examples of objects hidden by SCP-1802 include bottle cap, 3 acorns, a field cricket, half an ice cream sandwich wrapper, a coat button, and a gecko. Not the gecko. Is the gecko like dead? The gecko escaped SCP-1802's possession shortly after its placed within storage. Of course it did. SCP-1802's largest acquisition was a road sign indicating a deer crossing, removed with the use of stolen tools. Once the sign was removed, SCP-1802 was unable to relocate the item and so attempted to conceal it in place with the use of fallen leaves. The object was discovered by a police officer and replaced within several hours. SCP-1802 was discovered by the Foundation when it attempted to remove a security camera installed on the gate of Armed Containment Area 24. During the process, it was noticed by a guard, at which point it was captured and taken it for examination. It just wants to hoard stuff, man. Finders keepers, bro. Finders keepers. I found it. It's mine now. But we made it. We bought it. So, researchers assigned to SCP-1802 are permitted to provide the object with pieces of trash so that it remains cooperative during interviews and experiments. SCP-1802 spends its time studying these objects, taking a mental inventory of previously gathered objects, lying on its bed and twitching, and making unsuccessful attempts to penetrate its head using its graspers. The container was opened and found to be empty, except for masking tape applied around the bottom of the can. Okay, we have an interview log, number 2. Date, 10th, 4th, time, 3:10. Subject, SCP-1802. Interviewer, Dr. SCP-1802 spent the duration of this interview sitting politely on the interview table. Its voice is a little muffled because it seems to be coming from inside the can, but at least it enunciates as well. Dr. Okay. Oh, this is weird. Seeing an interview with these parts are not bold. SCP-1802, what is your earliest memory?
Oh, I woke up and I saw people. Some of these people were making signs. Some of the people were bowing and working. Most of the people were looking at me. A man said to me that it is working. He may have said it to the rest of the people.
I'm sorry about this. You're gonna have like a muffled voice coming out of a can. You're gonna get banned from me. What happened after that?
Oh, I was wearing my coat and had my arms. Before the man said my purpose, I was not anything that I could remember. But then the man said what I'm for.
What is your purpose, SCP-1802?
I look around. I keep anything I do not understand and study to learn. By this task, I become cool.
And that's for this part here, which I think we'll read that at the end. It seems like you take anything you find.
I do not understand much. The man told me that.
What happened to you next?
The man picked me up and walked until we were outside. He put me down and said to go west and begin my task. He said to keep going west until I saw a gate with cameras on it.
Can you remember what street you were on or what building you came out of?
I saw signs that said redacted. I think the numbers on the building said.
The fuck? Oh, damn, that was weird. To the supervising researchers, that's all we need. To SCP-1802, thank you for your cooperation.
I did not mention the detail. The man said that these details were very important to remember. The man named me.
What name did he give you?
He called me Skip.
Thank you for your cooperation, SCP-1802. The interview is over. Skip, as in, yeah, that's what they call SCPs. Interesting. So, whoever used him or placed him there must have been an ex-Foundation member, maybe, or someone who's fully aware of the SCP Foundation's systems and nicknames and terms. And then on the 11th, immediately following interview 2, a squad of Foundation agents raided the building described by SCP-1802. Location, an abandoned, redacted restaurant franchise, was completely deserted. Although paint stains and pieces of granite indicated recent activity, a cardboard box was sitting on the counter with an attached note hastily scribbled on wax paper in crayon. It read, "Found this for you. Appreciate the gestures." The words bore this message: "Special procedures. Figure it out." The cardboard box contained a dirt-stained white bottle cap with no identifying markings. After researchers cleaned and evaluated the object, it was designated SCP due to its anomalous properties and placed in containment. Now, we do have the I Become Cool. Are we cool yet? Which is the thing that we had just now in SCP-1800 with the Are we cool yet? Okay, so this seems to be a reoccurring thing. Seems like we have a couple like connections happening for the 1800 so far. So okay, how much do we have to read? Wait a minute. I'm definitely not gonna read all these shits because that is yeah, that's a bit much. That's a bit much. Here we have the SCPs that probably, yeah, okay, so these two are definitely connected to each other. And these are all the accounts and information. Okay, let me just read the overview. Are We Cool Yet is an artistic movement existing on the fringes of the international avant-garde with roots in the early surrealist art movement of the late 19th and early 20th century, and a growing scientific understanding and study of the anomalous that began to develop during the time. For one man's account of how the movement came into its own referred to the contest entry tale Birth of the Cool, which we can also read. The movement has no centralized leadership, no headquarters, very few traditions or conventions, and no official membership roles or requirements. The only thing one need to call oneself a member is to make art that employs, exploits, or revolves around anomalous objects, beings or phenomena. The organization of an AWCY, are we cool yet? Okay. Cell varies widely from place to place. Many groups are organized into small saloons, led by a creative mastermind or a professional critic, while others are collectors with no clear leader, and some members prefer to work entirely on their own. In the opinions of some, it is not even necessary to know that the movement exists in order to be a part of it. The tendency of some such groups to produce highly visible public artworks that cause death, injury, or lasting psychological harm has led some to decry the entire movement as a bunch of art terrorists. A label of some of its members were with pride, some repudiated entirely, and some were ironically. So this makes it even worse now that we think about 1800, the Mr. Orwell, who was saying like, "Hey, I was too busy looking at the horrible shit. I didn't know the statue was moving, or like it's not a mannequin, blah blah blah." We now know he's part of this group that makes art that causes destruction and psychological damage. So that motherfucker pretended to like not know anything, and he knew everything. What absolute cunt. The largest and most visible gatherings of AWCY artists in any place or time is Sums Nos Stefanus Magnificus, a grand exhibition held every 10 years since 1874, at which those in the know can gather view and scrutinize a selection of some to the finest works in anomalous art produced over the previous decade. To have work accepted is considered by those who care about such things to be one of the greatest achievements an artist can attain in a career, and members of cells all around the world petition to have their works displayed. And so birth by guitar, leaving the limelight. So these are all like project proposal, like these are. So this is perfectly cool. And this is there's quite a lot. But I think this is like its own thing. I'm not gonna be part of this. But I want to read the Birth of the Cool real quick. In the 19th century, the march of progress made it possible for the first time for human science to contemplate and comprehend those phenomena which had long seemed to contravene the laws of nature. Within a matter of decades, concepts that had long been viewed as witchcraft or sorcery were laid bare in the terms of a new and secret science, and governments and organizations around the world began to classify, study, and collect all such anomalies. And just as artists throughout history have turned a critical eye to the events of the day in their work, those who did the artists of this scientific renaissance began to interpret these new discoveries on canvas. By the 1870s, Paris was the center of the world of anomalous art, and the city stood witness to endless debate around the role of the anomalous in art, or whether such a role existed at all. When in 1874, the famed saloon, De Magnificus, French, refused to, like, I don't know how to say it correctly, I'm just calling it Saloon des Magnificus, refused to allow any works of a phantasmagorical nature to be displayed at a grand exhibition. Those artists shut out by the community organized their own counter exhibit to be held at the same time across the river. And that's whatever the fuck. As the show came to be called, was the talk of the Parisian press for months, earning equal amounts of curiosity, dismissal, and outright derision. But the exiled gadflies have made their point. The paranormal, the anomalous, and the bizarre have found their place in the world of art and would not so easily be not be so easily gotten rid of. This is what I need Arisha for, like, she would know how to say this. Held its exhibitions every 10... I'm just going to call this the SNDM. Held its exhibition every 10 years after, and as time passed, the world of anomalous art grew larger. From its beginning in Paris, artists from all across France and Europe, and later from the Americas and the Orient as well, begin attempting to increasingly prestigious and increasingly bizarre and difficult to keep hidden from the disdainful eyes of a concerned government. Exhibition expressing new and different interpretation of the role of the anomalous in human life. Reading this now makes sense why the guy hated Dali so much. Dali was probably like in the other, was like part of the other museum, and these are all like anarchists, you know, so like they all just go against the mainstream, the norm, and all that stuff. It was at the 6th decennial exhibition in 1924 that the growing rift between the two largest schools of thought, logical versus emotional, science versus faith, old world versus new, came to a head. For it was at that show that for the first time the works of the French surrealist Marcel Duchamp would be exhibited alongside those of Ruiz Marcos, the Mexican artist whose themes of magical realism and religious awe intertwined with the viscerally accessible fortuna of our world had set art critics worldwide at war with each other. Those who saw the two during the days leading up to the opening of the exhibition said they spent nearly the entire time in heated discussion with one another, in English, for neither spoke the other's mother tongue, confidently, about everything under the sun, the importance of the artist in relation to his work, the importance of context, faith, knowledge, law, free will, God, the state, democracy, Marxism, the war, the League of Nations, and the best way to serve a cup of coffee. They argued. Oh, the French. It seemed that they might continue bickering throughout the entire exhibition, but as the artists prepared to greet the assembled press on the morning of its grand opening, they appeared to have finally come to an understanding. If there's one image that comes to the mind of an art historian when the 1924 expo is brought up, it is of that iconic photo of Duchamp and Ruiz posing side by side with their fellow artists in front of the still closed doors, Marco seemingly leaning over to whisper something into Duchamp's ear. For decades, many have speculated on what words Marcos had for his colleague during that memorable instant, a question of metaphysics or a challenge, an affirmation of their coming to terms, a reminder of the reason why they were there at that moment of time, perhaps an expression of amazement at the multitude that had come to see them. According to one reporter who claimed that he stood close enough to overhear that whisper amidst the din of the crowd, it was all five at once, expressed in 4 simple words. Are we cool yet? Except from the coolest war, Memories of the Critic by Anonymous. Alright. Now we got some connection with SCP-1800 and SCP-1802. Interesting. But I do like, with Skip, I do like that also, that is a nickname that the Foundation give SCPs, like they just call them Skips. So it's cool, it's very interesting to see that potentially somebody who either worked for the Foundation or somebody who's very good, like somebody who got somehow information about the Foundation, created an SCP, called it Skip, and then let it to the Foundation, basically. Very like Riddler-esque, you know, very like, I know who you are, but you don't know who I am. I like that. That's pretty good. And I will say it does make the Minotaur SCP a little bit better, knowing that like that the artists, the anarchists that make this SCP are all about just, you know, causing destruction, causing psychological damage. It makes the Minotaur a little bit cool, knowing now that Orwell is not some. I mean, it already said like, oh, he was involved in it somehow, but now it's guaranteed. Like now we know, not only was he involved, but that group, the Are We Cool Yet group, on purpose make horrendous SCPs. Like, Autistic SCP does a rule that will fuck you over. They're the artists of martial art in the dark, basically. So it does give the Minotaur a couple cool points. I will say that.